Let's talk about love and marriage, the way that God intended. Life experience, here we share it. The No Fruit Podcast. Tune in from any platform. No Fruit Podcast. We'll help your spirit transform.
We thank you very much for tuning in to the No Fruit Podcast. We have a special couple with us today. Ultimately, we're going to be speaking to the husband today, and where he broke his neck playing football for Cornell University in 1970, leaving him almost totally paralyzed from the shoulders down. And after a lengthy hospitalization, he returned to Cornell, where he completed his undergrad degree in engineering. He then earned a Master's of Arts degree in Cornell education, as well as a Master's of Education degree at Columbia University in psychology. He became a nationally certified rehabilitation counselor, and he worked for more than 2 years at Abilities, Inc., where he provided vocational and placement counseling to severely disabled individuals. And wanted to accomplish still more, he enrolled in Hofstra University School of Law and then worked for more than 40 years as a Nassau County Assistant District Attorney, where he became a Deputy Bureau Chief. He is married and is the father of he is a father of 3 boys. He is also the author of I Dream of Things That Never Were. I'm going to tell y'all, I'm going to be honest with you. Having triplets at one time has to be probably one of the hardest jobs. We talk about all the degrees, all the other jobs and everything else. I'm not sure if I can even compete with having triplets at one time. I'm not sure about that. But I thank y'all very much for tuning in today. We bring in the Kunken family. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So let's start off with that idea of having triplets at one time. See, we have a boy and a girl, 123, 121. And so we don't understand what it's like to have all that responsibility at once. What was that like?
It's the greatest thing in the world. There's nothing better than that. And in fact, today, before we got on this podcast, I spoke with all 3 boys. They're now sophomores at 3 different colleges in upstate New York. Mm-hmm. One's at Cornell, one's at Syracuse, and one's at the State University of Morrisville. Okay. Doing great. And they told me all 3 of them are going to get on a joint phone conversation with each other, I guess a Zoom call, because they're staying really close, even though they're at 3 different schools. And it's just great to see how they've been developing and just thriving, even though for the first time in their lives, they've been separated from each other. Mm-hmm. So it's just great.
Okay.
But I think that your question was how was on the beginning, right?
Yes. Yeah. Right.
That was a long time ago.
Yes.
And fortunately, my wife is just a superwoman who did a phenomenal job raising them. And they've grown up. They've done everything together. Mm-hmm. So it's strange to see now they're at 3 different schools. But it was just great. You know, I can't think of a better way to raise kids than to raise them together. Right. And especially with the COVID epidemic, when they were home from school, they had their built-in playmates all right next to each other. So while, you know, there were some children who didn't have siblings who had more of a difficult time socializing with friends, our 3 boys always had each other, which was great.
And they had the both of you as well. So I think that helps out as well, you know, that.
I hope so.
You know, I think go ahead.
Yes. But coming back to the beginning, how was the beginning? Where did we start it, Ken? Just tell the story.
Well, you know, having triplets
well,
was quite...
before that.
Before that. Well, as you mentioned, I'm a quadriplegic. I'm almost totally paralyzed. And when I married my incredible wife, Anna, in 2003, she indicated that she wanted to have my baby, not just a baby, my baby. And this really seemed impossible because I had been paralyzed for more than 30 years. And I was already in my 50s. So we looked into various options, including in vitro fertilization, and were thrilled to learn that it still may be possible for someone, even in my condition, to father a child.
That's wonderful.
So we decided to pursue it. And through the miracle of science, Anna became pregnant.
Ah, nice.
And miracle upon miracle, she was pregnant with triplets.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was just the most exciting, wonderful adventure I could ever describe or imagine.
Yeah. But you wanted twins, right?
Well, when we talked about having children, both my wife and I each have a brother and a sister. So when Anna said she'd like to have my baby, I said, and she agreed, that our baby should have a sibling.
Yes.
So, when we were going through in vitro, which is a lengthy and a difficult process, I was thinking, wouldn't it be great if we had twins so we didn't have to go through
this again?
the process
Yes.
again? And my sister has identical twins, and I have a cousin who has fraternal twins. And I was thinking all along, would this be great if we had twins? And lo and behold, I was present during the sonogram where I saw it was not just one or two,
Wow.
3 babies. And I was present at the delivery, during the delivery, when all 3 of our boys were. It's the most exciting adventure I can ever describe to anybody. It's just incredible.
Yeah, but it's hard to describe that feeling, when your children are born and you're just overwhelmed with all this love or just desire to protect them, even in the delivery room, right? I mean, I'm sure that you had the same feeling when your kids were born as well, but how to describe it to somebody who never experienced that? How do you do that? Can you even describe that?
I think
Have you ever tried it?
I think you can try to, as you're stating, and but they may not be able to truly appreciate it because they haven't gone through it. So I think even listening to the two of you describe your story, I can picture myself and the stories that Maurice has shared about him being in the delivery room for just
How was that for you?
How was it for me?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. I'll tell you this quick story. So we are pregnant with the second child, our son, and we go into labor and delivery, and the nurse says to my wife, "You're not ready yet." Well, she checks her. Oh my gosh, you are ready. As she's running out the room, down the hall to get the doctor, I have to stand there and deliver my son. So
you see, it could be worse. It could be worse for you. You would have to catch yourself.
Yes.
That was an experience. As you're stating, each one of us have our own stories that we probably in reality we all have to go through in order for us to inspire and encourage someone else. And I think that's one of the things that we kind of miss sometimes. Because I think even though this was a funny story, but I realized that I had to be a little stronger because when we were going through looking at all the videos and everything else, I kept passing out looking at the blood.
Yeah, in Mama's class, Maurice kind of fainted a little bit. So it was very difficult because it was like, how is he going to assist me? All the planning that you go through with having a child and, and what you expect to happen and how you want it to happen, Your spouse is going to be there holding your hand and you watch things on television, the movies and all those things. And it was quite different than that, especially because the Lamaze class, like I said, he kind of sloped down in the chair. I was like, what's going on? He's, and it took him a little while to come back. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is this going to be like when we're really in the room? Like, is he going to be there to help? And it was, the first child, we both were kind of in and out, kind of anxious,
right?
He took a nap, I took a nap, but for the second one, like he said, if he wasn't there, I don't know what would have happened. But just the fact that he went from Mama's class, in 2020, in the year 2001,
Yes.
where he's like slowly passing out, to 2003, where he's like catching a baby. I'm like, you're a doctor, like, you're a police officer or a firefighter, like something like that. Because those are the people that tell these stories. But here you are, you're a gentleman now who can tell a story and says, hey, I brought a child into this world. Like, not, that's a proud papa story, most definitely. So tell us a little bit about, like, hey, all the things of planning, of, again, like you said, you had the thought of maybe 2 kids at once. Now you have to go through all the planning of having 3 children. Tell me a little bit like that was like, of going through that period of just, hey, we know we have 3 kids that we're getting prepared for, but what's it like once they really come? They're here, and I'm sure there were 3 wonderful bundles of joy.
Screaming bundle of joys, yes. About the planning situation. So we were living in the condo with 2 bedrooms. When I met Ken, I actually was Ken's aide for weekend. Okay, that's what I signed up for. It took us a while, but you kind of get closer, and now we're living married in that 2-bedroom condo. Okay, it's very spacious place, but when you think about it, to cram in 3 cribs there, it's not so easy situation. But I remember we were shopping for a couch for the 2nd bedroom before I got pregnant, and at this point Ken had some kind of finances resources, right? So we went to fancy store and pick up the couch, and we waiting for this couch for like 4 months. The fancy stuff you wait for. I don't know why. But anyway, we coming back from the doctor's appointment after the sonogram when they showed triplets on it. So the first thing we did, we canceled that order for the couch. Now we had no space for that couch,
that fancy couch,
that middle bedroom, where it's supposed to be 3 cribs in it, not just 1 or 2. For 2, we could fit in with the couch. 3, absolutely not. This is the first order of business, or we had to change our plans for that. But of course, at this point, we had to plan for, normally I would be taking care of Ken most of the week. And now we had to plan, of course, to have somebody 24 hours 7, somebody else taking care of Ken's needs, which is normal thing we have to do, since 52 years ago, right?
We were living, as my wife said, we were living in a 2-bedroom apartment, a condominium, my wife and I, and suddenly we have not just the 2 of us, but the 3 babies, and attendant for me, and Anna's mother came to help out.
And the nanny, we had to have a nanny.
And initially a nanny to help with, showing us everything involved with feeding 3 babies all at once, pretty much.
Yeah.
So our place was packed. and to tell you the truth, it was the most fun ever. Because everybody was just ecstatic about these 3 babies. And it was just so filled with love that we felt we could have fit another 10 people in. It was just
wow.
Only if they will be us, lovable and, working together smoothly like those 8 people we had already there.
Yeah.
Even to be honest, our nanny's husband came over to United States. She was from Poland. I'm from Poland, right?
Okay.
I mean, we hired her because she was, she spoke Polish more than English. I don't know if she knows any English, but it was good because she was talking Polish to the kids, and I kind of wanted them to be bilingual. So anyway, he's supposed to come and visit, right? And he kind of proposed, how about if we stay with us? And I was like, what? It wasn't be too much. But you know what? He came, he stayed. They were actually staying in the room with the babies. They shuffled out from there into the den,
Mhm.
which we built additional doors to close off this so I could pump there. I would pump my breast milk there. My mother was sleeping in the living room on the couch. So anyway, so 5 people, Nyani, her husband, and 3 babies was in that small bedroom for a while. But still, he fell for those babies as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we had actually 2 nannies, really, just like pouring love on them. So that was the best situation. And I have to tell you that we're still in touch with those people, that couple, and their kids, by the way. So I don't know. It's just this family grew, and the love was spreading around and care and everything. So she actually told us that just to having him there actually saved her marriage,
Mhm.
because their marriage was on the rocks for a while, and just staying with us together, it kind of like their relationship blossomed and came back to normal after a period of problematic things going on there.
But when we first started, we gave the nanny, a day off on the weekends, or sometimes 2 days off on the weekends.
Yeah.
Which meant when we were having meals, when the boys were a little older, we'd have them sit in 3 different high chairs, and we'd be around almost like a circle and a table. And my wife would give baby A bite, then baby B a bite, baby C a bite, then me a bite of food because I couldn't. Then she would take a bite, and we'd start the circle again. And that's how we were eating a meal when we were over.
A lot of what you're saying reminds me of, your backstory, Ken, in reference to football and the team sport. So I think your home became this team, of people, and I think that's why it's a winning thing, because you all played together and you all worked together. And it's a great thing because it just says that, when everyone's surrounded by love, even a couple whose relationship is not doing well, it can turn around if they're surrounded by people who display love. You know what I mean? And I think that's just such a great thing. It's a lot about what this podcast is about. That's why it's called the No Fruit Podcast, because people who feel as though they're not fruitful, that they can't move forward, we're helping them to understand, like, if you're just surrounded by positivity, it'll rub off on you. You know what I mean? So I think your story is so, so great. Tell us a little bit more about this team thing that you had going on.
Well, our boys grew up being very helpful to not only to each other, but to us as well. So my boys have also helped my wife in helping me with my everyday needs. And they help each other. They're each other's best friends. And it really has been a team from day one, where we've done virtually everything together, with everybody helping each other. There was no jealousy, no animosity. Everybody supported each other. And everybody was so proud when each of their siblings had an accomplishment. They were the biggest supporters, the biggest cheerers. And they're that way today, too. They've stayed close this whole time.
Yeah. But when you think about the previous kind of love before me, I would say, what happened with your family? What happened with you when you was in the hospital, for example? When you went to school, who helped you?
Well, I mean, obviously, when I wasn't at home and I was away at school, I had, a personal care attendant who was helping me. But, my family's been incredibly supportive the whole time since my injury. I was injured in 1970, and it was only as a result of the tremendous family help, support, encouragement, and love that I was able to do all the things that I did over the course of my life. And, I think that's rubbed off on the way we've raised our children. So it really is a team. Everybody helps each other. Everybody cares about how each other is doing. And it really is wonderful just to be around everybody, and, family celebrations really are celebrations in our household.
I think that's very inspiring, because a lot of times we look at life and life is passing us by and whatever else. We don't get a chance to smell the roses. We don't get a chance to celebrate sometimes these little wins, And where, because a lot of times you hear family members that could be jealous of someone else, friends could be jealous or envious, whatever it is. And I think that what you're talking about, a lot of us don't have the opportunity to experience. Because especially if you pay attention to social media, it seems like everyone is against each other. Can we just all sit down and just break bread together, as you talked about? Or I don't care what it is. Like I said before the show in the green room, if we could just sit down and act as if we're at the dining room table, having some coffee, some tea. I mean, my favorite drink is a Pepsi. So Pepsi, whatever it is. And just laugh and talk, and have some joy.
Right. Well, as you indicated, I wrote a book about my life. Mm-hmm. It's called I Dream of Things That Never Were, the Ken Kunken story. And I tried as best I could to convey not only what I went through, but all the help, love, and support I received from my family and friends. Mm-hmm. Because I thought that was not only so important to me, but so important to convey to others, mm-hmm. to show what a difference it makes when everybody tries not only to get along, but to help each other and to care about each other.
Mm-hmm. So, I thank y'all very much for coming on the show. So you mentioned about your book. Please let everyone know where they can purchase your book, find your website, either follow your podcast and all that type of stuff.
Thank you. Well, my book is called I Dream of Things That Never Were, the Ken Kunken story. It's available on Amazon. But they can go to my website, which is kenkunken.com, and it'll indicate exactly where they can purchase the book, whether it be by Amazon or other means. And if they did want to purchase it in bulk to give as gifts, it indicates how they could do that as well and get in touch with my publisher directly, which is 12 Tables Press. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk about my book. It's got some very nice comments from people that have read it. And I've been so pleased that people have said that my book has inspired and motivated them to do more with their lives. And that makes me feel just absolutely wonderful to hear that.
Yeah. Nice. If I can say, one of the reviews Ken got, it was from his friend, the school friend from high school, I think, who said that it answered the questions he was not able to actually ask of his brother, who also was paralyzed after spinal cord injury. The brother died long time ago, but Ken's friend, to this day, he could not figure out what was bothering his brother, what his things were, what he was going through. He was not able to ask those questions directly to his brother. But reading the book, Ken's book, who I have to say sometimes very honest, and sometimes it's painful to even read it. And I have to say Ken's brother just told us, who actually is, through the whole book is all mentioned all the time, never had he's not ready to read it. It's just too many painful memories. But Ken's friend says that book answered all those questions he had for his brother he never had a chance to ask. So that's how detail-oriented that thing is. And sometimes it's painfully honest.
Let me just tell you a little bit about how I got the title for the book.
Sure.
While I was still undergoing rehabilitation, I was a patient in the Rusk Institute. While I was still an inpatient, I was asked to testify before a United States Health Subcommittee chaired by Senator Edward Kennedy. 8 days after my testimony, Senator Kennedy sent me a glass paperweight in the mail that had an inscription on it that the senator said his late brother Robert Kennedy liked very much. And that inscription read, "Some men see things as they are and say why. I dream of things that never were and say why not." And that's why I got the title of my book, I Dream of Things That Never Were, because that saying has always been very meaningful to me.
Nice. So, like I said, I thank y'all very much for coming on the show. But we have this question that we ask at the end of the show, because you're talking about why, right? And it kind of it fits into our ending question. So, Kyle, would you like to
No, you
ask?
go ahead. You got it.
So the ending question is, if you had a choice, who would you sing a duet with?
That was a very pointed question, Kenneth.
I gotta tell you, I have always received such negative feedback about my singing voice. I have to tell you, when I was in elementary school, I actually tried out for the chorus.
Okay.
Now, in elementary school, the instructor would have done anything to get boys in the chorus.
Right.
I got cut. I couldn't even get into the chorus. And when our boys were little, I figured I'll sing to them, and I would sing to them Old MacDonald and other nursery rhymes, and they would cry even louder and beg me not to
Wow.
sing. So I don't know if anybody would ever agree to do it.
Anna would sing with you.
Well, remember when you was in the show of some kind of?
I was actually when I was.
And that was a solution, by the way.
14 or 15. I went to a sleepaway camp and we put on the show, The Music Man, and I was actually one of 5 people in the barbershop quartet. Now I know you might be thinking, doesn't a quartet have 4 people?
Yeah.
Well, after they put me in it and I learned my lines, they realized they made a big mistake because I couldn't sing. So they told me to just mouth the words, and they had to add a 5th person to the quartet.
Wow.
See, that's a solution.
Right.
Yes.
I thought that said a lot about my singing.
I know, right?
So the question is, with whom you would like to mouth your boat? This is the solution, right?
Right.
Whoever has even a modicum of a decent voice would be an improvement. So virtually everybody out there would be an improvement. Yeah.
Anna, how about you? Who would you want to sing a duet with?
I also don't have really voice. I never sang, really never. My mother had a very beautiful voice.
Okay.
Was singing in the chorus in the school when she was going to high school. I think that right now when she's retired in the village, they moved in like kind of like a few years ago. She's part of the chorus. Of course, I'm here. She is there, in Poland, so I cannot hear her, but I know that her voice is really nice. But I'm afraid it's kind of like jump the generation. Maybe even 2 generations, because I don't think that boys wants to or have any desire to sing either. So I love all the music, 70s rocks.
Okay. Right? Okay.
70s rocks, yes, this is my kind of thing. Kenny, I think that you're stuck in 60s, right? Yeah, there is 19 years of difference between us.
Okay.
Right? And I'm talking about 70s because even though that I pretty much was a teenager when I was in 80s, you have to know that in Poland, it was a little bit different music and culture.
Right.
Up to end of 80s, it was all communist thing, right? So we were, of course, open for all the kind of entertainment from Russia, from Europe, stuff like that, for all those, Germany, Czech Republic, and Hungary kind of countries and music and culture from there. But only in the 80s, like 83 or something like that, the government started to open up for the music or import of the entertainment from the West, pretty much to calm the young generations. If they didn't give them something to munch on, like music or movies, they will be rising up and they will have revolution every day. So they allowed that music to come in. And this is the music that was just kind of trickling in through this channel. There was this one famous radio channel, number 3, they called it.
Okay.
But the guy who was running the channel, he tried to kind of like catch up with the music from the West, right? So 80 music was, of course, fresh and nice and things like that. But he was bringing all those 70s bands, everything, all the 70s rocks. It was new for us in 80s.
Right.
So I grew up on this just like I would be growing up in 70s here, which
Right.
was generation before. So 70s rock, my favorite. That's something what I put on the computer or in the car when I'm supposed to be awake. I'm drunk hours. I have the 70s rock
on, yes. Yeah. Yes.
Nice.
Great.
Well, we thank y'all very much for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
Yes.
Thanks for giving us the opportunity to tell our story.
Yeah.
We appreciate that.
Thank you for your story too. Very interesting. And you don't want to be on that. Taking the baby, okay? Thank God.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so
Wonderful.
thank you very much. And of course, all your information will be in the show notes. So if anybody wants your book and your website, things like that, it will be readily available.
That's great. We appreciate that.
Thank you. It was so nice to talk to you guys.
Same here.
Yeah.
Nothing like the double date kind of stuff.
Exactly.
I know, right?
Wonderful.
So of course, y'all, thank you very much for listening to the No Fruit podcast. And Kafi and I, we will talk to you a little later.
This week's episode has come to an end. But the fun doesn't have to stop here. If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback, head over right now to Twitter and Facebook and like, share, and get involved. Join us next time.